Hello, welcome to another episode of The Champion Dentist. I am delighted to have Dr. Sharon Bleiler of Jenkintown, Pennsylvania with us today. Guys and gals, imagine a $7 million dental practice that is performing really, really well. That is the practice that was created by Sharon in 2016. Welcome, Sharon. I'm so happy that you're going to be spending some time with us today.
I know. I'm so happy to speak with you. We spoke once before, and I think we just could have gone on and on for hours. So I'm really excited. I love talking about dental practices, private practice, because it's a really hard thing to manage and find your way. And, I've been blessed with being able to find a way to make my practice really what I wanted it to be.
Well, you have a thriving practice, over 7 million in sales. It's just celebrating this year its 10-year anniversary, Noble Dentistry, Jenkintown, Pennsylvania. But let's reel the video back here. Let's go back, and you are a part of a family of dentists. If I remember correctly, your dad was and still is a dentist, and your brother. So is that still going on? Are they practicing?
My father is not. He's been retired for a long time. My brother practices. It's very funny. We took very different paths. He has a very small boutique practice. He practices single doc, just him. And I kind of went the other way. Uh, but yes, I come from a long line of dentists.
Okay. And you
And
know what's interesting for me, I come from a long line of people in dentistry as well, in that my father was an entrepreneur, dental technician, and then I became an entrepreneur and dental lab owner as well. So, you know, I like to say I have chrome dust and porcelain dust in my lungs and my veins and wax and denture teeth and all of that. So, I've been around dental labs and dental practices since I was a little boy. So I have great respect and affection for dentistry because it's been very good to me. But I also
yes,
have great respect for the challenges that dentists face. You know, it's gotten more interesting, more complex, but also more challenging in a lot of ways. We're gonna talk about that. So you graduated from Temple Dental School back in the 90s. Tell us
yes.
about that journey that led you to starting Noble Dentistry in 2016.
Yeah, I really like to tell this because I think sometimes people hear that, I have this really successful practice and they think, well, that's just that can't really happen. That's not going to happen to me. It, any dentist can build it. Anywhere you are, there's nothing holding anyone back. I was married and I got divorced. And that is when Noble Dentistry started. I was in a bad spot and I knew I had to do something. And instead of going to work for someone, I took out a loan, opened a very small. I opened up. I think I plumbed for three, outfitted two. I was the only one there, working and working, and really not breaking through and getting ahead. Just like kind of hamster in a wheel. I had two girlfriends at the time who were stay-at-home moms who came in to help me run my practice. They had no dental experience, but just didn't want to see me fail. I have four children, so I knew what I had to do. So about a year into practicing, I met, Colin Ambler. Uh, he,
Who happens to be your spouse?
yes,
Okay,
um,
yeah.
yes. So at the time I met him, he was very interested in what I was doing. We were dating, and he came into the office, and together we built this. It was just me and him, and then we added, but we really took a different approach. And as dentists, we're not always business savvy. We're taught sciences. We want to make things with our hands. We're medical professionals, and all of us have to embrace that we need to be business people too. We won't make it going forward if we don't embrace that. It's just we're going to get pushed out. So we adopted a model that we were going to be open a lot of hours, service people, we are PPO based practice, and we just blossomed under that. That's kind of how we did it. I'm sure we'll get into it more.
Sure. So,
Big,
but let me interrupt if I may, Sharon. So you had been in dentistry as a practitioner for basically about 25 years before you started Noble, right? 91
Like
to
20, yeah, like, yeah, not, yes. Yep, you're right. No,
yeah.
yeah, you're right. 20 some, like 20
So
years. Yeah.
so you had all that experience. Well, you worked for people, had your own practice. Things didn't go exactly the way you wanted it to. So I had this expression. You went through the mud, the blood, and the flood, right?
Love it.
Of getting the experience, having your own practice, and then you decided to go for it, right?
Yep.
With creating Noble. And so now today, are you still in the same location for Noble?
I'm in the same location. We tripled in size. We have 14 operatories now. My husband is fully out of the practice. As you know, he does a software now. I have 6 associates, one endodontist. I plan to hire 2 more dentists by the end of the year, and I'm fully out of the chair. And all this is within 10 years. Uh, we just really concentrated on giving great service, really concentrated on hygiene. I think docs miss the fact that hygiene is the growth of your practice, that you constantly have to be opening up hygiene, allowing for hygiene. If you don't have hygiene coming in, we always say like hygiene's the funnel, like where we go like this in the office. If you're not feeding hygiene, you can't come out the other side with treatment plans. We looked at it in a more business way of adding hygiene, but still with continuity of care and excellence.
So let's go back to the beginnings there in 2016 when you opened and then Colin became involved. When you think about the things that you did back then that you still do today, that, if you will, are the secret sauce, what was and still remains today the secret sauce to create a thriving $7 million plus dental practice?
Uh, I think having employee buy-in of your vision of where you want to go, of that they know you are going to take care of them, and then they take care of the practice. It's a very, I read a ton of business books. There's a Chick-fil-A book that talks about that. I think it's called It's My Pleasure. And that's what they say at Chick-fil-A. But they're all of it says, it's kind of like the leaders eat last. If you train your staff for excellence, and they know that they have you behind them 100%, you don't have to do everything. You just have to let them know you're there. If there's a moment that a room needs to be cleaned, and these are little things, or a extra hygiene patient, myself or any other doc would jump in and clean a room or do anything. We don't stand on a hierarchy. We're all one team. And I think once you have that built in, from whatever job you are, a sterilization tech to the owner and everyone, I'm standing next to the sterilization tech cleaning instruments, you have buy-in. Everyone knows we're a team together. I think that's the success of it. Um,
Now, that is
that
that something, when you think about when you started, is that something you thought, this is what I experienced before starting Noble? These are the things working for other dentists and all of that. So did you go into it with this realization, I want to have a team environment that's different than what you had experienced in the past?
Yes, I wanted it something different than the past. I also have 4 children, and to me, the front desk was so important, because if I walked in somewhere, I have 3 sons and a daughter, and they were all within 6 years. If I walked in somewhere and someone didn't look up at me and catch my eye, they just kept working. I would definitely be flummoxed, because I think, I have 4 kids here I'm trying to keep under control. So to me, the one thing about the front desk or anyone in the office is patient forward. Whoever's standing in front of you, immediate eye contact. How can you help them? What do they need to have a successful visit? And I get that feedback from patients all the time of, wow, what you've built here. Wow, everyone here is wonderful. The whole saying of A players want to work with A players is really true. You want to create an atmosphere where you are patient first. I can't tell you the effect that Chick-fil-A book had on me about, about your customers and how you're treating them.
That is so true. And I remember I interviewed Colin a couple months ago to, talking about not only your history, but team care and what a great product that is. And we'll spend some time talking about that in a bit, because it's, the fundamental concept is, people do get paid to do a job, but people love incentives. right? And they
Yes.
love recognition, and they also like a little bit of competition, if you will. All of those things are good, and there's no reason not to have that within the team environment, right? You know, if I'm playing for the San Francisco 49ers, my favorite football team, you know, my stats are going to get tracked, whether I'm a defensive lineman or the quarterback, and I'm going to have an incentive to have a certain number of tackles or score a certain number of touchdowns, and you've incorporated that in your practice. One of the things that Colin mentioned that I want to ask you about is he stated to me that from the very beginning, I think your cell number was on the website. And it was like you decided together that you were just going to answer the phone like 7 days a week and just be there for your patients. Can you comment on that?
Uh, Absolutely. Well, we needed patients and we would answer the phone from anywhere, put them in. We also committed, and when it was just even he and I, we were at the office. We opened the office from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and we're open Fridays and Saturdays, 8 to 2. Just that paradigm swing for dentistry opened up tons of patients for us. We were getting, and we still do, we get like 200 new patients a month. And everyone is always thankful for our hours open. We are very customer service. But what you said, we really did build. Any job in a dental office can get monotonous, and to have incentives and to have recognition, which is what Team Care, which our software really does, is wonderful. There's, leaderboards, not in a competitive way, in a healthy way, group incentives, individual incentives. All those things have just led to everyone feeling really good about what they're doing at Noble. And you're right, everyone's recognized for different things. That there's a million things to be recognized for. There's tons of things, as you know, that go on every day in a dental office or any business. And it's all those small things that really make things successful. The thank yous, the handoffs, all those things. And we do recognize people for all of those things, reviews, anything.
We'll get into that a little, the more granular aspect of that, because I know your colleagues will want to know how you're using Team Care in your practice, and it's being used by hundreds of practices throughout the United States, and I'm a big believer in it. So the other thing I want to underline, I hope my memory is correct here. Is it on this? You're on the seventh floor of an office building?
But yeah, we're on the fifth floor. Yes.
Fifth floor. Okay, well, I was close.
No, yeah, you're
But
right.
but
We have one little sign out front. We're not very visible. No.
okay, so I mean, when I think about marketing, of a dental practice, one of the key things when you go through the laundry list is location, 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 signage, signage, signage. Okay, location and signage is great, and boy, that can really add to visibility and getting more awareness and traffic. But you're on the fifth floor of an office building in Jenkintown, Pennsylvania, generating over 200 new patients a month. And it reminds me of the television show Cheers. And Sharon, you remember this. We're
Yeah.
both old enough to remember that. And that feeling of you walk in and everybody knows your name,
Yes.
and that warm and friendly would you say that's the kind of vibe that you have at Noble when patients come in?
Absolutely. We have one person who's just a greeter. As soon as you walk in, obviously all the softwares have this now, the PMSs, where you can take a picture of someone. She might have 14 people coming in at the same hour. Her job is to know every single person that's coming in, read something about them, look up to them, greet them, and tell them, absolutely, we're going to be right with you. No one waits. If there is any reason there's going to be some kind of wait, she's on that and talking to the patient about that.
So that
Their
that that
experience is
that
number
new
one.
patient coming into the practice, let's talk about that. That new patient, they're greeted. They haven't been in before. The person who's the greeter knows they're coming. They're welcomed warmly.
Yes.
Let's walk through that new patient process all the way from when they walk in the door and they hand off as they go through that first visit all the way to when they leave. Can you walk us through that?
Sure. We usually already have everything. We usually have all their paperwork, their email, just like so many other offices before that. So from when they walk in that door, the greeter greets them, says, make sure that we have everything we need. We like to try not to have a lot of transaction with that. They're seated. in the waiting room, a hygienist is coming out immediately. No one, the biggest thing I think is people's time. People don't, no one should be taken for granted or assume we're not doing them a favor. They're doing us a favor for showing up. And I always tell that greeter, you are the face of Noble Dentistry. You're the first person you're seeing, the last person. When they walk in, that hygienist is taking them back. They're greeted by that person. The hygienist is in the room working them all up. Number one thing to us is handoff. The hygienist is waiting for the doctor. That handoff is done. Everyone's, I don't want to say required. Everyone has been taught to say something positive about the next person. The front desk person saying, oh my gosh, Chelsea's going to be your hygienist today. You're going to love her. Chelsea's saying, oh, Dr. Naturiani is about to come in. She's awesome. A great practitioner. You're going to love her. Doctors are handing off to assistants or FDAs, and then the handoff to the front desk. Everything has to be a perfect handoff and a positive about the next person and how they're going to treat you. When they come up front, a treatment plan coordinator has gone over everything with them. And from the time they walk out the door, they immediately get a review and the front desk person is sending them off with a farewell.
Okay. So let's just stop right there. And that is, I'm like vibrating in my chair. I'm about to elevate here because this is so beautiful what you've described. Okay. It's the way it should be done because people coming to the dentist, there's a degree of stress, there's a lot going on in their life, and they may be in pain or they may be there because they need hygiene, or they may be interested in Invisalign or veneers. They're there for a reason. Typically, it's not the most positive reason, unless it's to get that smile of their dreams. So there's anxiety. And what you're doing immediately is you're lowering the anxiety, you're making them feel safe, you're making them feel warmth, affection, but you're also reinforcing that you're in a good place, right? And those are things that I don't think most business owners really inherently understand, that this is how you want to be treated. I was just at Disneyland over the holidays with my grandkids, and how do they address you? They address you as friend. And after the first time you might hear it, might sound a little weird, but you realize it's all part of, number one, the training, and number two, it's the warm and friendly that they want you to feel when you're there. I had to call Disney reservations. That was my first experience with that. I had to clarify a ticket issue. And that's when I heard friend for the first time, was on the phone with Disney.
Oh, wow.
And so there's clearly a reason for that, right? So you have, whether it's Chick-fil-A or Disney, you've really embodied this customer-centric approach. But I want to underline here, the foundation for that is your team-centric approach. So you started, after these years in dentistry, you recognized, look, the team is everything to Dr. Sharon, right? And the team is going to make you or break you. You knew that going into it. And then you carried that on with, okay, we are going to take care of people in a way that they're just not used to in dentistry, right? And I mean, you wouldn't be generating the degree of patience and have the success that you have with that. So when that individual is experiencing this and they come in for the first time, and you've described it, they're going to leave almost like they went to a really nice family reunion. That's kind of the vibe that I feel that you're describing.
Yes.
Now, I want to talk about that Google review because this relates to team care, right? And people, by the way, they're with this podcast. There'll be links to get to team care so people can learn all about it. And team care, again, is a great, brilliant way that Colin created, and you were 100% behind it and implemented it to incentivize the team to do certain things really well. And one of that is to get the review, and everybody gets rewarded in that process. So can you just talk about how you get the review? When does the person provide the review, and how that all works? And then let's tie that into team care and how people participate, how they benefit from a Google review being generated.
Absolutely. I like to say that team care incentivizes, but it aligns. Once you're aligning your team, the incentives just make sense. Everyone's aligned. So with us, with the way team care works, reviews are automatically pulled from Google and are entered into team care. They're automatically pulled once you're already signed up with team care. It's very easy to pull what doctor was involved, what hygienist was involved, and what front desk person was involved. We also have, so all of that, as soon as that comes in, we know those reviews are happened. But the way we get them is two ways. Everyone in the office has a QR code. They can ask for a review. We are very specific on how that's done because I'm sure everyone here has been asked in a way that you felt like, oh, like a little put upon. It's got to be, you have to have wording for that. We usually say, hey, I hope that you had a 5-star experience today. We love to take care of you. I love you, Mrs. Jones. I love when you come in, you're so positive, happy. I would love if you feel like you would like to, take a picture of my QR code and leave a review. Then that person's tagged on that also. When they get to the front desk, there's a sign up, we value our patients. We want feedback that you were treated the way we want you to have been treated. There's a QR code there. So we're getting reviews organically, but also we're asking for them. I think we're probably about 1,500 reviews, which there's people with more, but we have a lot of reviews. And when that happens, it's automatically entered into team care. And at the end of the month, that person is paid out through Stripe. We give about $10 to every team member that was involved in that review. It adds up. You can get an extra 100, 200 and some dollars a month. We always call it shoe money. Every girl wants a little shoe money. So we do that, and we do it in other ways too. And we do some group incentives and some individuals, but it's really about aligning everyone and not making it competitive, but still incentivizing.
So well said. So you have patients who are doing a review while they're there, right before they walk out the door. They're typing
Yes.
in on their phone. A lot of people are putting that review in on the phone, or they're going to do it when they get home, and because they've taken a picture, is that right? They're
Yes.
able to get where you want them to be, and then you have that as an incentive. I understand you're calling it shoe money. If for the guy, it might be golf ball money. I have no idea, or
Hey,
beer money,
absolutely. It could be
whatever it
beer
might be.
money.
But
It might be beer money for me.
there you go. We're in a day and age right now where, look, another 100, 200, $300 a month for many people, most people, and people in the dental office,
Yes.
that's thousands of dollars per year in additional income, right?
Yeah.
And that's nice to have. That really really helps. So we've got this incentive for Google. What else do you do with team care that relates to incentives in your practice?
We do a lot. So we're very hygiene focused in that we want all our patients pre-appointed before they walk out the door. And we're big reactivators. We probably reactivate or bring patients back in that haven't been in 6 months. We probably average another 120 to 150 patients that we're bringing in every month by using Team Care's reactivation. Everyone who reactivates someone, and it's only if they attend, if they call someone and it turns into that person attends within, I think I have it set right now, about 60 days, that person gets $10 for that. I have people making calls that, hygienists in between patients or someone cancels, front desk people, assistants, anyone can participate in that. That's another $10. You can be picking up another easy. You bring 10 patients attended in a month, it's another $100. Some of my hygienists are really good at it. They're doing way more than that. We have a bunch of different, we call them micro incentives. They're not huge amount of money any one place, but you can really pick up. We do an incentive on crowns on the shelf. Person got it prepped. They haven't gotten back in to get the thing cemented. That's thousands of dollars on the shelf. You got someone in and they got that crown cemented, it's incentivized. Lots of different ways to incentivize different things, treatment plans. So it's like you can, and I've had people talk to me about incentivizing things that I've never thought of. And I love that. We're trying to figure out how to incentivize the handoff that it makes sense because, like you said, I feel like that's the most important thing happening in the office. One positive thing said about someone else is worth a million.
Yeah. Oh, what that all does, and I want to underline this, what you created is an environment where it's a team.
Yes.
You're approaching care as a team, and I just know you're taking great care of the team. They love being there, but they're also incentivized, if you will, individually to go above and beyond.
Yes.
And that's an important thing for us to remember is it there are people out there where they're just wired to go above and beyond. But the fact is, I think most of us are, generally speaking, in terms of people, we're not automatically wired to go above and beyond. You have to create
Yeah.
that. And so this reward system, the micro incentive, micro reward, which adds up to a, a chunk of change, is a brilliant idea. When one of the other things I believe that Colin mentioned to me, who again created Team Care with you,
Yes.
was that you have something on iPads that you present to the patient. I don't know if that's in the chair or on the way out the door that addresses the subject of proposed treatment. Can you
Yes.
please talk about that?
Yeah. This one's brilliant. So when whatever we connect to about 200 PMSs, um, whatever you put into the PMS for treatment automatically gets transferred into Team Care. Team Care automatically, it's going to come up on an iPad under the Team Care app. We go into the room with the iPad to the patient before, people are going to accept treatment while they're still there. Once they leave, no one wants to pay money to not be comfortable. And, they all want to go get their nails done. So we walk in with the iPad. The treatment plan is on there. They sign it and it's accepted. It immediately scans back to the PMS to their record. It will immediately go to the next page where it says some sort of payment has to be made. We require a quarter down to schedule. They can pay in full, quarter down. As soon as they make a payment, it goes to scheduling and they can schedule themselves there or the treatment plan coordinators there. I love this because it takes out a lot of the chatter. Sometimes a treatment plan coordinator can be verbose and maybe buy back that or overtalk it. We're very big on tracking treatment plans accepted and not. Sometimes it's the doctor. Sometimes the doctor didn't, present well. But this has pushed our acceptance up another 30%. All of us are used to working through something on an iPad, and it's just 3 easy steps, and they've agreed and signed, they've paid at least something down, and they've scheduled, and they're skedaddling out the door. Everything's about efficiency and time. People value their time more than anything. We're all like crazy busy.
So that iPad, when is that handed to the patient?
So after the doctor goes over everything, a treatment plan coordinator comes in and says, I have the breakdown for your treatment, what your insurance will pay, what your portion is, and hands it to them and says, we're going to just we can go through this together. 90% of the time they go through it alone with the treatment plan coordinator standing there to answer any questions.
And
But that's handed
that's
to,
there in the operatory or in a different room?
I like to do it in the operatory while they're still in the dental chair.
Okay.
I think that that's very powerful. I think, you go to different groups and hear them speak, and they say once that person leaves that operatory, their mind's on, I got to go, pick up Johnny. I got to go food shopping. I really don't have the money for this right now. We're trying to do that. Why they're in the room, that's done. Treatment plan coordinators are trained to discuss options if they need, and they're all on the iPad. Do you need Cherry? Do you want to do care credit? Is there a question? How the treatment plan coordinators are trained about to speak to the patients. If the patient's like, well, I really want to speak to my spouse, they're trained to handle questions and get results if they need to. But a lot of times people are fine working through it on their own.
Okay. So you just stated a word that is a really big deal in all businesses, and that's the word train and training. And you indicated, Dr. Sharon, that the treatment coordinator is trained.
Yes.
People are trained. Can you please tell us how you go about training that treatment coordinator and how you go about training people in general to make sure that the Disney magic is happening, because it's not osmosis. People have to be trained. Can you tell us about that, please?
Yes, we're actually have a couple people being trained right now. Well, my office manager is amazing, but when you are hired at Noble Dentistry at the front desk, you are you are just sitting and watching. If you look at any Fortune 500 companies, they're always a training. You know, you're never put in a seat and expected to perform. There is a 1 month period at Noble Dentistry where you're sitting next to someone, and then you're being taken out for 2 hours with the office manager, just going over things, learning how things run. We also do a lot of training with, we're calling you, you're sitting in the room, we're calling you, one of us is calling you from another room, and you're working through. It's just reps. Everything's reps. Once you've had enough reps of answering the phone or answering questions of, well, I want to ask my spouse what they would say. They're trained to say, well, what do you think your spouse would say about you getting dental work? Should we get them on the phone? There's just like learning how to get to the why. We talk about that all the time. Get to the why. Why do people not do dentistry? They're either they're afraid of pain or money. They're the only two reasons people don't do dentistry. Your job is get to the why. It's our job to teach you how to get to the why. And then
And let me make sure I'm understanding. So this is they're learning by watching, and they're being, if you will, motivated or prompted to, hey, ask questions, because we want you to see and hear and learn, right? And so they are getting the the full vibe of not only how noble dentistry is, but the specific things that they're going to be doing. They're getting exposed to it. And they're getting exposed to it not just for a day or two. You're saying they're there for a full month.
yes.
And boy, at the end of a month, they really have this sense, okay, yeah, I understand what's going to be expected of me, and I understand how it works. So when that individual, they now need to start doing the job themselves. Do they have someone there with them as a mentor, as a coach, helping them
We
with that
usually
process?
sit them, yeah, we usually sit them right next to we have shift managers because we are open 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. They're usually sitting next to that person, and they're helping them throughout the day once they're let loose. But if you don't set someone up for success, you can't be upset that they didn't answer the phone correctly, that they didn't do things correctly. We do a lot of role playing. I said, like, we'll sit there, someone will be calling them, and then someone sitting next to them, helping them get through a script. They're always embarrassed. Like sometimes I'll sit in the chair and they have to come in and present to me. They don't like when it's me, when it's someone, anybody else. But if you don't give them reps and set them up and do role playing, they're never going to be set up for success. We do that with the docs too. I stand outside of the room when they're presenting, and when they come out, I'm like, you think you told that patient they need a crown. They have no idea. The tooth doesn't hurt. They don't know. Role play, talking. There's so much that goes into making it go successfully. And honestly, it goes back to running a large company and learning how to run a business. Like I just read books and books and books. I could not fail. I had no safety net to catch me in any way. I had everything on the line for this place. So I knew that I had to do something different than I had done before.
Well, and you've done it well. Let's get a little bit more granular here in that what you've just described, I presume it's on paper. Is
Yeah.
it all is it on iPads? Is it on paper? It's like, here's the training protocol, here's what we want this person to learn, here's the validation, etc. Can you walk us through the black and white of how you make sure it's getting done, and it's getting done well?
It is on paper, but there's someone on each. We have a team leader for each person: hygiene, EFTA, assistants. I'm the doctor one. I'm trying to transfer that over to another doctor, and front desk. There is a lot of time, especially front desk. Front desk is the most valuable role in the office, and everyone, I feel like, doesn't realize that. Like your front desk is the make or breaker of you. They're the first person someone's talking to, the first person someone's seeing. they are multitasking in a way that no one else in the office is. And I don't care what the docs say or what assistants say. They have the hardest job in the office. We have someone we're training today. She sat next to someone for 3 hours. Then she was taken in the back with Christine, the office manager, and she'll spend 3 hours with Christine, role playing, looking at papers, going over stuff. She will not be set loose until she spends a full month. And she feels it's setting them up for success too, that people want to do well. They don't want to fail. And if you haven't trained them, then you're telling them, no, don't answer the phone like that. I told you this. You have to role play. They need everyone. It's the 10,000 hours. You need to have someone show you, and then you do it. Showing you isn't enough. Doing it yourself until you're getting it, till you get the confidence.
All right. So let's just call time out
It's a lot. I know.
because you have how many people are on the payroll now, Dr. Sharon?
I have 40 full time, and I probably have 20 to 25 more part time.
Okay. So 60 people. You weren't 60 people 10 years ago, but you at some point, probably early on, you started to incorporate this philosophy of setting people up for success. So when it was a much smaller Noble Dentistry, were you the person who was much more involved with the training, or did you have one or two other key people where you made sure you were same page and the point was, hey, we've got to really make sure that we're setting people up for success, and let's write this down, and then let's make sure that we get, because we're growing, we want to grow, we need to grow, let's make sure that things are not getting overlooked. Did it start that way?
It honestly, it was Colin and Colin was training all the front, and I was training all the back. And it actually it got out of control for a while because as we were growing, we weren't doing as good of a job because we were so busy, and we had some people who we had trained really well and some people we didn't really have time to train. And that's when the wheels started to go off the bus there. And that's when we were like, wait, we got to go back to basics here. We know how to train. We're not transferring knowledge. So we took some of the people that already had that knowledge and we wrote everything down and started to have them do it. You can't be a micromanager as you're growing. You have to trust people. You have to train them well and then hand it over to them. And they're going to flub some things. Yeah, I flubbed a lot of things too. But it didn't really happen until we started to get, I want to say, like 20 people, and we realized, wow, we have 2 shifts. Both of us aren't here all the time. When you're both there all the time in your team, everything can go smashingly. As you grow, yeah, we have big growing pains. And that's when we started to get systems in place, things in writing, trusting our team to do the things we were doing.
So and thank you for that. I believe that all businesses at their core have 4 pillars. And pillar number 1 is staff. It's people, starting with the person who started the business. Staff person number 1. And it goes from there. Number 2 are systems. Yes. So what did you do? You said, okay, we've got staff and we need systems. And you just underlined is, okay, well, some of these things kind of happen because we realized, wow, we don't have a system here. We've got to have a system for this. We got to have a system for that. And the other 2 big components besides staff and systems are marketing and sales. And the marketing is how you communicate outside of your 4 walls and how you're communicating when people come into the 4 walls. And then the sales is really that whole act of how you are communicating with that customer so that they can make an informed decision. Yes. Right? And it's those 4 pillars. Would you agree that those are the 4 pillars that exist also in every dental practice?
I don't think anyone ever said it to me like that before. And I think that's beautiful. I love it. And yes, I think it's 100%. I feel like for a while there, we had the staff, we had the marketing and the sales. We did systems last, which was really the wrong way to do it. But I think Colin and I were innately very good at teaching people, and we had the one-on-one all the time, and we didn't realize that that was going to be an issue later. So yeah, we had great marketing, we had great sales, and we had the staff. And then as that started to really blossom and got out of our control, it that's when we learned that systems were. And that's when I really started to look around and think, wow, like all these huge big companies, I have children that have been in large companies, and that's when I was like, wow, they were trained like this. No one threw these, they're smart kids, whatever, but no one threw them into it expecting them to know how to do this without a lot of training. And that was a big aha for us too.
So Sharon, you along the way in the years before Nobel and then in starting Nobel, did you have any mentors, anyone guiding you, particularly once you started Nobel, or did it was you and Colin and you're a voracious learner? In my opinion, you are. Is this one of those things where yeah, we pretty much figured it out on our own, or were there other people that helped you?
No, definitely other people. I would say I I am, I'm a mom. I will tell you that helped me so much with um, teaching everyone and having that empathy, but also like being able to be stern. Like everyone there will say, you have mom eyes, when you're mad, but then it's over. But I would say, like, Colin came into this with a business mind, which I did not have. He taught me so much, but we also used a company, and we learned anywhere we could dentally. I picked up gems from so many different groups. I couldn't even name them, but I would say we did follow the ChrisAd philosophy for a while, and that was huge. We learned so much from them about hygiene and how to grow hygiene, which that was a really big thing. Like your practice can't grow if you are not adding hygiene appointments. And 6 months from now, if you have the same amount of hygiene appointments offered, if you're booked 6 months out, you're doing it wrong. You can't grow. So I would know we learned at so many different places and from so many different groups. But I would say Colin was amazing for me because I did never had a business class in my life. I didn't understand it. And he really opened my eyes to things that made me want to read and learn. And when we were first together, he was getting his MBA at Chicago Booth, and he's going up and back from Philly to Chicago to take his classes to finish. And I felt like I feel like I got my MBA just reading the stuff he was doing. It's such a disservice we do to dentists that there's no business classes, college, dental school. We have expected to run a business with no idea how to run a business, and
And
such a disservice to us.
it is a disservice, and that's as you know, Sharon, from our prior conversation. I had a career in manufacturing and distribution, and because I have this deep love of dentistry and have known dentists for all these decades and have been in over 1,000 dental offices myself over almost 50 years, I realized, okay, there's a need, Michael, where you can help dentists still with starting a consulting company, a coaching company, as I call it, which is the Champion Dentist. And then I realized that, okay, I can really help doctors understand the things that you and I are talking about. But then I realized, well, there's a marketing component to this.
Yes.
And I looked at it and said, I think there's some areas on the marketing side where the team that I already had for my prior businesses can really help doctors as well. So I do have an unusual business model in that it's both coaching and consulting and
Yes.
marketing services only for dentists. So it's those four pillars, if you will. We've got it all under one roof. I would not want to be a dentist either out of dental school or mid-career without having guidance, without having somebody from the outside. I was talking to one client last week where we were one-on-one, and we were talking about accrual accounting versus cash accounting. And it was like, Mike, I don't know that stuff. And my point was, you weren't trained to know this stuff. It's
Yes.
okay. I'm a big believer in accrual accounting, and I'm going to explain to you why. And Sharon, when you and I first talked, I think I wound up talking about accrual accounting and why for small businesses, it really is the better way to go because it really gives you a better understanding of your numbers. And banks and lenders, boy, do they love it when when you have accrual accounting. But the point is, and this is really near and dear to me, is dentists go through a lot to pass the boards to get the license. That's a lot of work. Again, the mud, the blood, and the flood of dental school. Okay. So then you come out and you have not had any extensive training on how do you run what I call a complex small business. Okay. It is a small business, but it's also complex. Having a food truck is a small business, but I would, with all due respect, it's not that complicated. Now, if you're going to start Chipotle, okay, and an individual Chipotle has a higher degree of complexity to it, a lot more revenue, a lot more things going on. And so to carry that analogy over for dentists, look, you did not learn how to run a Chipotle location in dental school, right? You've got something that's actually more complicated than running a Chipotle. There's a
Yes.
lot of different products and services today relative to when you and I were kids in dentistry, right? We both were kids in dentistry, we've been around it. There's a lot more that dentists can do, and it's a wonderful thing. This is a golden era in dentistry, but there is increased complexity. Now, and with that complexity, what it means is, boy, you've got to have the right philosophy of care, the right management approach, and boy, do you have it. And I mean that so sincerely. You understand the importance of team and leadership and organization, but you also understand the importance of systems. And without that,
Yeah.
it can be very frustrating. I like to say, this is another analogy I want to share with you. I like to say every day in any small business, or really for that matter, any business, but particularly a small business in a dental practice, you enter the whirlwind. You enter the eye of the hurricane. You have a choice. Are you in the eye of the hurricane where it's calm and things are spinning, or
I like,
are you out there in the 200-mile-an-hour winds flailing around like Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz, right? And now you're burnt out and you're frustrated
yes.
and you're not getting out of dentistry what you want. And so as we wind up our time together today, I would love you to talk to your colleagues, both the younger colleagues and even older uh, career cycle colleagues about, okay, if things are just not the way you want it to be, or you're about to create it to where you want it to be, what do you see are the fundamental things that you need to have starting with mindset?
Oh, I love that hurricane because I think that dentists, we spend all our time trying to get back into the eye. We're like clawing out of the. Um, I think too, and Colin and I have spoken about this before. I could have never done this without him. And I think every dentist needs to stop and say to themselves, how do I want to do this? Do I want to be a practicing dentist? And if I do, then they need someone like you, or they need to find a consultant or it's hard to find. You're not going to find, unless you have a partner who's a business person. But if you don't find that person and you want to be a practicing dentist, then you're not, it's going to be really hard because you only have a certain many hours. If you're practicing 10 hours and then you have to run a business. So teaming up with someone who can give you all those things, the systems, the marketing, the sales, and you can concentrate on the dentistry and work with that person, you're going to do great. Or I always, you can't do both. Or you have to step back and say, I am going to be a business owner. I'm going to manage this dental practice. I'm going to hire dentists, and that's how I'm going to be successful. But I think that is one of the biggest things that upsets me for dentists. And I meet a ton of dentists that aren't doing well. And they have cried to me and said, I'm working 8 hours in the chair, and then I'm 6 more hours at the office, and I'm trying to catch up. And I know I don't have the right staff, but I don't even have time. And that breaks my heart. And I think that that's one of the biggest things we miss as dentists, that you need to make a conscious decision. Like, do I want to be a practicing dentist? Awesome. Be a practicing dentist. Then find yourself a consultant or someone who is going to help you be successful, or be a business owner. And it's okay to do either. My brother is the exact opposite of me. he has made a conscious decision that he wants to be a practicing dentist. And he has a, he runs a very small practice. He does have a consultant, but that's how he wants to do it and be successful. But be mindful of the decision. Don't be a hamster in the wheel where you're just, you're not in the eye. You are in the wind every day, and
Yeah.
you lose it. You can. It makes you start to hate what you do. It's just, how can you not, you know?
Well, you just described it so well. Dentistry is an opportunity to do something very fulfilling and also something that can be very rewarding financially. But
Yes.
you've got to approach it the right way. And we're in this period of time in the history of dentistry in the United States where, boy, there's corporations now. You got the Chipotles, the
Yes.
DSOs out there, and these are smart guys and gals, and they're doing a lot of things right. But by the same token, the vibe that exists at Noble, with all due respect to the DSOs, is not typical when you walk into a chain-owned dental practice. It's not typical. So there's a big opportunity, in my opinion, for that private practitioner, whether they have the one office, like your brother with his model, or you with your model with one location, or the guy or gal that wants 6 locations. There's still this tremendous opportunity that exists in dentistry today to have your own practice, whether it's as your brother has or you have, or all these different variations. You have this opportunity to have a great life. And I would think that you are going to agree with me. Dentistry still remains today an opportunity to have a great life. What are your thoughts?
I totally agree. And I think, like, 100% I agree. I think that we're very blessed. I think you just have to be conscious and mindful of what you're doing, because it can easily get really hard or out of control. When I opened it, I don't really like DSOs, I'll be honest, but was one of the reasons I wanted to be open 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. I want to compete. I wanted to go with a model that there was a bunch of us, and I don't have any dentist at my office who's going to leave. When they come, I'm like, I want you to plant your flag here, have your family. You're going to be a part of this. My dentist will take over Enable Dentistry. But it's a decision I made to compete against the DSOs. I want to stay private. I want continuity of care, but to compete hourly with the hours they can put out. I agree with you. I think most of the great staff I get comes from someone who's sold to a DSO. I get great patients who say, I walked in there. Every year I go, there's a different dentist. It can still be a golden opportunity. I think dentists are scared and like, oh, we're going the way of physicians. No, we're not. Not if we like build something great. I mean, you and I can remember pharmacies. The pharmacist was just like us. They owned it. You bought your Band-Aids there, you got your meds there. And now my kids, your kids, they don't even know that happened. We got to fight it. And this is the way to fight it. Like, be mindful of the decision that how you want to build this. My husband will always say, don't start anything without an exit plan. And I mean, everyone's heard that, but to be mindful of that, like, how do I want to live this and bring this and end this in 20, 30 years, it's like good stuff.
Absolutely. Well, Dr. Sharon, you are, and Sharon now is my friend.
Yes. Call me Sharon.
You are an inspiration to
I hope
me.
so.
You're an inspiration to dentists. And guess what? I may be the first person to say this. You're also an inspiration to business owners, whether they're in dentistry or not.
Well, thank you.
This is a compliment because you figured it out, and you are sincere in saying, okay, but I didn't do it on my own. I got a
I did
great
not.
partner in Colin. I had my life experience. We got people from the outside that we learn from. We got books that we've learned from, and really that's any CEO. And you are a successful CEO who created something from scratch. Any CEO looking at you, Sharon, whether you got the taco stand or the Chipotle, is going to look at you and go, yeah, you know what? This is a smart lady, smart human being, smart
Yeah.
dentist. So thank you so much
Yes.
for
No,
for your
absolutely.
for your time. I do have a question for you. A couple quick questions. So if an individual dentist wants to get some advice, are you open to talking to them?
I was just going to say that anybody that you work with or anyone that absolutely a Noble Dentistry, Jenkintown, PA, you call that office and you ask for me and I will get on the phone with you. I am more than happy to. It's like what you said. I feel like you and I are both very blessed, and nothing makes me happier to see people break out of things. People get scared of their staff. People get scared of this or that, and they feel stuck and they're in debt with these practices. And absolutely. You call me, I am there, and I'm
Well,
not really in the chair, so I'm
so
available.
we'll put your practice website for
Absolutely.
the podcast notes here. I have to tell you that you just said something where I would love to have another podcast session with you talking about, you said something, you said, I believe doctors get scared. They can get scared of their staff. And,
Yes.
that breaks my heart. I see that as a consultant,
Yeah.
and they don't know what to do. And they get locked into, in some instances, accepting mediocrity. And so I think you and I should have another conversation
I
that
would love to. I would love to. And I always say to people, you'd be shocked when, when you put these things in place, a lot of the B people leave. I was in an office, and I know we're wrapping up, but I was in an office recently, and this office manager was so negative. And this doctor, everyone else in the room, I'm like, everyone's scared of this lady. And she's horrible. She didn't even have open dental set up correctly. And I said, these operatories are all closed. She's like, no, they're not. I put the appointments in. And I'm like I waited. I took the doctor aside after. I'm like, she is like, she's killing you. She's throwing. You have all these wonderful people, and this one negative person. The open dental wasn't set up right. She was answering the phone. So I'm like, this is why you're struggling. I'm not leaving. Like, I'm going to stay here for 2 days with you, but we're firing this lady before I leave. Like, everyone, she had wonderful people, and everyone was held hostage by this one person, and the doctor too. We don't
well,
understand the front, and we get so scared. Well, if she leaves, what are we going to do? We're going to
well,
thrive.
let's save that for the next episode that we do
Yes.
together. Okay. Uh,
Awesome.
I would love that opportunity. So people will know how to reach out to you. Thank you so much for making yourself available to your colleagues. Uh, Thank you so much also for explaining to us not only the history of how you've accomplished what you've done, but also sharing what you've done with Team Care. And I really encourage the guys and gals that are here today, listening and watching, take a look at Team Care. Because if I was a dentist or I was part of a dental practice, I would look at Team Care, I would adopt it, and Dr. Sharon, you can comment on this. If you sign up for Team Care, you're not alone. It's not like you're buying the latest version of Excel. You're getting onboarded and supported, and you are helped in the implementation and ongoing use of it. Is that right?
Absolutely. We have a bunch of trainers. I do training all the time. And whoever you want, a lot of times doctors want to talk to one of the doctors, talk to me, or I can present to anyone, but we have tons of treatment plan coordinators at every level. We train, and we'll walk you through it. It really is an amazing thing. And it's just like tracking everyone in your office. You can't track the front desk and the assistants through your PMS. To track it and see it and use it as a teaching tool is it's amazing. It's will change your practice. It's a growth vehicle.
And everybody, it's not expensive. It is the biggest bang for the buck
Yeah,
of
it really
something that
is.
you can get a subscription to and bring into your practice. It's very fairly priced, very reasonably priced. It's a great return on investment. Uh, don't take my word for it. Check
Yeah.
out Team Care, find out for yourself, and avail yourself of the resources that are available through what Dr. Sharon and her partner Colin have created in that regard. Dr. Sharon Bleiler, it's been a pleasure being with you. I look forward to getting together with you again. You are a gift to dentistry. Thank you so much for spending time with us. And guys and gals with us today, there are notes to this episode. Check out Dr. Bleiler's practice. Check out Team Care if you want to know more about the Champion Dentist, the consulting and marketing that we do at Gold Medal. The links are there for that as well. Thank you for your time, and I will see you in the next episode. Take care.
Yes. Take care. Good talk. Bye.